Is Israel about to ignite some sort of global firestorm? And why in the world is everybody focused on this teeny tiny little nation that is no bigger than the state of New Jersey? And could one red cow change the course of history? And what about that third temple? Everybody's talking about that these days. Could the third temple be the very structure that ignites the rest of the end times? All those questions answered and more in today's video. Welcome to Certainty for Uncertain Times. My name is Lauren, and the entire goal behind my channel is to help you navigate through the chaos, the clown world, and the dumpster fire that we all find ourselves living in these days through the lens of the Bible, but also while connecting the dots to Bible prophecy. Now, if you're wanting to dive a little bit deeper into the Bible's prophetic puzzle pieces, then I'm going to ask that you like this video, you subscribe to this channel, and you hit that notification bell so that you don't miss any uploads coming from me. Now, before we go any further today, I have a huge thank you that I want to send out to this community of amazing people. So thank you. This channel has grown so much in the last 30 to 45 days from you guys sharing videos, from you commenting, giving the thumbs up, even the negative comments. Thank you to everyone who has participated on these videos that I have been putting out. It has been amazing to have so many of you come into the community. Now, with that said, YouTube sent me an email yesterday and said, hey, you can go ahead and monetize your channel with ads now, which is great because that would give me a little bit of money to actually put to the things that I need to continue to grow this channel. But the truth of the matter is, I don't want to do that. I value delivering content free of distractions. So in order for me to keep this channel ad-free, I rely on the support of you. So here's what you can do. If you find value in the things that you are getting from this channel, then there are links below where you can donate to help me put dollar bills towards the things that have to be done in order to keep this channel growing and moving in the right direction. A big, huge thank you to every single person that has donated so far. You are the reason that this channel is doing what it's doing, and you're the reason that I can invest back into it and continue to grow in this ministry and put more time and effort to it. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. And without further ado, let's get into the discussion of all the things that are coming out of Israel right now. The Middle East is like a powder keg that is going to explode at some point soon, and there's a lot going on that I feel like we need to talk about, so let's dive into it. So the first thing I want to do is give you a little bit of what we call in the prophecy world an indicator of God's time clock. Now, if you're a watchman or watchwoman, then you are going to know exactly what I'm talking about, but if you're new and you're here on this channel because you're trying to learn stuff, this is going to be a really good thing for you to just kind of file away in your brain to pay attention to world events. So here's what you need to know. We always say in the Bible prophecy community that Israel is God's timepiece, and you can pay attention to how close we're getting to the return of Jesus just by watching that timepiece. So here's how you can remember it. Israel itself is the hour hand on the clock. When we're talking about Jerusalem, that is going to be the minute hand. And when we are talking about the Temple Mount, that is going to be the second hand. Now, here's what's pretty interesting. We have all three of those markers, if you will, on the clock in play right now. That should let you know that we are very close to Jesus' return. Here's the thing that I kind of like to mention, and I said this in other videos before. Many of the Bible scholars, the prophecy guys, the gurus, if you will, in this particular arena, some of them have been doing this for 30 and 40 years, right? And I can remember, James Cadiz is one of them, I can remember him saying, we would be excited, this is just maybe even 5 or 10 years ago, he said that we would be excited in the prophecy world if we got one article coming out about Israel once a year. I want you to think about how much Israel is in the news lately, and not just Israel, but specific topics. We've got Jerusalem in the news. We've got all of this discussion around the Temple Mount. It seems like everybody and their brother now knows about the red heifers and knows about the importance and the significance of these cows and why Israel is ready to sacrifice one. These are very, very, very big deals. And for me, it makes me grin ear to ear because there are several people walking around who do not believe that a third temple is coming, and I am here to tell you that it is. And so today I want to discuss a little bit about that third temple, what's kind of going on over there, and of course talk a little bit about what some of the folks in Israel who are believing Jews, what they are talking about right now, because it is truly fascinating. And for those of you who are waiting for the trumpet to sound and waiting for Jesus to appear in the clouds to come get us, this should make you very excited, because we are living in truly unprecedented times. And I'm saying, and have been saying for a long time, I'm so thankful to be living in this day and age, because it is truly remarkable to be part of that generation who is going to get to see Jesus return. So I put my notes in front of me, and I want to dive into a couple of articles with you today on what is coming out in Israel, as well as what a few people are saying about all the things that are kind of just in limbo right now. So the first article I have for you is from the Middle East Eye, and this was on, it looks like it was a week ago. So today is Wednesday the 14th. So this was published on August 7th. So it is a picture of the Israelis practicing the red heifer ritual in front of the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Now, here's a few things that were mentioned in this article that I find really interesting. And it's just, I don't know, it's just so wild to me to see this in actual publication, because these conversations are the conversations that have been going on in the Bible prophecy community, those of us who are watching and waiting. And it's just wild to actually see this like on a news page. I don't know, that maybe I'm silly for thinking that, but it just is wild for me to see that. So here we go. A group of religious Israelis have been pictured practicing the ritual of the red heifer, which is meant to herald the building of a new Jewish temple on the site of the Al-Aqsa Mosque. According to Jewish tradition, the ashes of a perfectly red cow are needed for the ritual purification that would allow a third temple to be built in Jerusalem. Now, let me point out that the picture you are seeing with this red cow, this is a cutout, by the way, and it is clearly not a red heifer. The red heifers that they have right now, I do believe there are only 3 of them left, but they are in Shiloh. I know there were 5 originally that were taken in 2022. 2 of them have been disqualified, and there are now 3 left. And I know there is also some talk that there's like a, we'll call it an expiration date, I guess, for lack of better terms, but there is an expiration date on these 3 cows on when they can be used. One of them can be used for this sacrifice. So that is really interesting to note too. But the reason I mention this about the cutout is I saw a lot of arguments online stating like, this is not a red cow, and oh my gosh, is that a real cow? It's very clear that this is not a red cow, and that this is a cutout that they are using here practicing this temple ritual. So the article goes on to say that the temple must be constructed on the raised plateau in Jerusalem's old city known as the Temple Mount, where Al-Aqsa Mosque and the Dome of the Rock shrine stand today. Here's the key. Some believe this will herald the arrival of the Messiah and possibly even the end of the world. That sentence alone is just like, it's mind-blowing to see. Now, in other videos I have talked about and I'll link all of those below that I have on the red heifer. I've done a few lives on them. I'll also try to find a few of the videos that I have saved from Mondo. Mondo Gonzalez he's got a book on the red heifers. He knows so much about it, and I've watched a billion videos of his with other people that he's talked about the red heifer. But there is something, and I can't remember which Jewish book it's in, whether it's in one of the mitzvahs or it's in the Talmud. I don't know. I can't remember. But there's something about the fact that this red heifer sacrifice will be the 10th red heifer. And they believe that the 10th red heifer, there's some reason behind it. And again, it's slipped me and I don't have it in my notes. The 10th red heifer is supposed to be the one that ushers in the Messiah. So this is a really big deal to them. And the fact that they are practicing this just out in the open, given the climate over there right now and what is going on between Iran and, I know that there was talk of Iran, supposedly they were supposed to attack them on the 9th of Av, or that didn't happen. But there's so much just kind of like in limbo right now about this, this war that is going on, and it's been going on for a while, but now it's escalating. So the fact that they're doing this in conjunction with all of the talk on it, the Middle East is just a powder keg. I don't know how to say it any clearer, but the Middle East is just a powder keg. So the article goes on to say, temple worshippers are now practicing the mitzvah of a red cow in front of the Temple Mount, which will enable the return of purity and the observance of all the temple mitzvahs. So then the article goes on to say, the Temple Institute imported the heifers for the eventual purpose of using them in a ritual after years of searching for blemish-free cows without a stray white or black hair. That part is inaccurate on this article. What a lot of the rabbis are saying is that there can't be a black hair or a white hair, multiple hairs growing out of the same follicle. Doesn't mean that the cow can't have a white hair or a black hair. There just can't be 2 growing out of the same follicle. So that's how they determine whether or not the cow is completely pure. And I wanted to mention that in case you go and read this article for yourself. There were a couple things that I know are not accurate from this article. The other thing that was really interesting about this practice is, and I have it written down here in my notes, but it says this practice was just performed within the old city side of Jerusalem, facing the Temple Mount, while also facing the Mount of Olives, which is a very big deal, as seen in the background on the other side of the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Now, it's just really fascinating to me that, again, I know there was lots of talk back in the spring. They were going to do this over Passover. It didn't get done because of all of the escalation from what happened in October 7th. But these guys are still going forward with making sure that whenever this ceremony does happen, everybody is ready for it. Everybody knows their lines. They know their part. They know it all. And that to me is what is very fascinating, because it just goes to show you they're not going to back down from this. They have these animals here, and these animals do have a shelf life. I think it's somewhere around the neighborhood of after 3 years or right around 3 years. I don't know. If somebody knows someone knows exactly what that deadline is, you can comment below and I can pin the comment for you guys just so that we know. But the point is that they do have a shelf life. And it's just very interesting to me that in the midst of all of this, we're about to see war kick off again over Israel with Iran. These guys are just like, yeah, we're going to go ahead and continue to practice this ceremony, because this is a really big deal for what is to come. Now, the other really interesting thing that came out the exact same day that I saw was from YouTube. The Temple Institute put out a video that was about 5 minutes and 50 seconds. I'll link the entire video for you below. Go check it out. Like, make the speed go faster so you can get through it. Just some of them do speak in Hebrew, so you're gonna have to pay attention to the captions. But anyway, they were talking about building the Holy Temple is what the video is. And man, the excitement on all of their faces talking about this and the goals that they have and how they're just pressing forward and what is all done. And I mean, everything from, I think I mentioned this in a live a few months ago, there's even this particular color of like dye that they use that's blue, and it comes from this particular type of snail. Well, it hasn't been seen in over 2,000 years until recently. And they now have that blue dye from that snail because those snails started washing up on the banks from, from the water for them to be able to use. So these kinds of things are crazy. So there were a couple things, though, that stuck out to me when I was watching this video from the Temple Institute, and I want to show you a couple of those clips. So here's the first one.
I am the content manager for the online global community of the Temple Institute. Our department is responsible for the Holy Temple teachings that we put on our social media platforms. So the teachings are about the Holy Temple, even the minutest details in regards to the work that was done in the Holy Temple. Our mission is to reach everybody around the world and create one strong global community who are interested in learning about the importance of the Holy Temple.
So in this particular clip, the lady Sandra, who is running all of the social media sites for the Temple Institute, the phrasing that is used a lot actually through the video, but it just really stuck out with me with her because she's using social media. She just kept mentioning about a global community, and then towards the end, it's like it's a strong global community. They really want everyone to know that this is a place of worship for everybody. It's ecumenical. So those kinds of things are really important verbiage. Again, as we all know, the verbiage that comes out of Revelation, that we're going to have, we won't be here to see it, but we're going to have a one world government. There will be a one world religion. There's going to be one world currency. All of these things are coming together for globalization, and not just in Israel alone, but you guys know, if you're paying attention to any world events or current events, everything is all about this global initiative to just merge everybody into just being unified, right? So that's very interesting verbiage. So now let's look at the second clip that I have for you here that also has some really strong language in it as well. So obviously that was in Hebrew, so hopefully you read the caption. But what he is saying is that once they rebuild the temple, and only when they rebuild the temple, will they be able to have peace. Now, again, those of you that follow Bible prophecy know that the Bible does talk about this, but it is a pseudo peace, and it's only going to last for 3.5 years. And that's when the Antichrist signs that covenant, and they have that peace for 3.5 years before he turns on them. Now, the wild thing about this to me is that a lot of us believe that the signing of the Daniel 9:27 covenant, which is the start of the tribulation, that is how you will know if you are left behind here. That is how you will know the tribulation has commenced once the Antichrist signs that covenant. A lot of us believe that that covenant is going to be the covenant that allows them to rebuild the temple. He's going to somehow put that into that covenant. It's going to confirm an existing covenant. And there are a lot of different covenants coming out right now. You've got the Abraham Accords. There's probably going to be more. Who knows? We'll see what ends up happening with all of that. We had the UAE come into agreement with the Abraham Accords. Time's all relative these days, but not too long ago. So it's going to be very interesting to watch all of that unfold. But prior to that, they have to have this red heifer sacrifice happen. They have to have this. This is a prerequisite because the sacrificing of the red heifer, again, I already mentioned it, but the 10th red heifer is supposed to usher in their guy. Second to that, the ashes of the red heifer are what is going to cleanse the ground for them to be able to start moving forward on the temple. And they do have a lot of, obviously all the articles are there. Everything they need can be done. And I've even read on the Temple Institute and I've read on a couple of different other sites that they really could take about 6 weeks to get something up. So it is really, for those that are out there that are saying this is never going to happen, I'm telling you what, you could not be more wrong. You absolutely could not be more wrong. So anyway, there's one other thing that I wanted to talk about in regards to the temple and when they released this video, and it was something that I saw on a Telegram channel that I'm a part of. So Bubba News, thank you so much for putting this on your Telegram channel. I thought this was so cool. So let me pull up my notes and read this to you guys. Okay, so this is coming from Bubba News, his Telegram channel. If you have a Telegram account, go follow Bubba News. I'll link him down in the description box below. But this is what he wrote. What I found the most interesting was in the comments section with a question asked, and then the Temple Institute's actual reply found in the post below. The Temple Institute interaction in the comments section said this, question, I have a question and forgive my ignorance if I don't know already, but where actually are we going to build a temple? Are we going to destroy the Dome of the Rock and build the temple on the remains, which I fear would bring the Arabs down upon us? This is clearly a Jewish person asking this. Or is there another area where we are going to build it? And with what we know today, will you sacrifice animals? Here was their answer. The Holy Temple, a house of prayer for all nations, and they have Isaiah 56:7. So again, they're recognizing that this is supposed to be an ecumenical thing, will be built when all the children of Abraham understand that it is for the benefit of all people. It is true that the Middle East is at war and that radical Islam is constantly on the rise, but wars don't last forever, and God punished the evildoers. A time of peace will come, hopefully sooner than we can imagine, and that is when the third temple will be built. Pay attention to that verbiage. A time of peace will come, hopefully sooner than we can imagine, and that is when the third temple will be built. Who's going to provide that peace for them? It's an interesting question, isn't it? The Dome of the Rock was originally built as a memorial to the Holy Temple. When it has fulfilled its original purpose, it can be relocated to another site holy to Islam. So they're mentioning about relocating it. So again, this, Bubba News goes on to say, this indicates that they're preparing to take back the Temple Mount from the current control of Islam and move the Golden Dome of the Rock somewhere so that they can build the third temple in exactly the spot where the Dome of the Rock currently sits. This announcement would set off a Psalm 83 war in a hurry. Touching their Temple Mount, aka Al-Aqsa, would cause every single Arab enemy surrounding Israel to make a covenant to wipe Israel from the face of the earth so her name is no more in remembrance. Just a wild, I mean, this is just in the comment section of a YouTube video. You guys, can you think about how crazy that is? We're talking about, this is not, again, we don't read newspapers anymore. Well, most people don't. We're not talking about a newspaper article. We're not talking about, a clip on, CBS News or, CNN, the Communist News Network. We're not talking about anything like that. We're talking about the Temple Institute, who has been paving the way for the third temple. We're talking about their YouTube channel in a comment section, just like the comment section on this YouTube that you are involved with. They're talking to people. This is just normal conversation. That is wild to me. That should also be a sign at the times for you to see that this is such everyday conversation. This is not like somebody's getting all suited up for an interview to answer only a few questions that they know ahead of time so that, the real things are not asked about. Like, no, this is just a YouTube question that they took the time to answer this person's question. So again, this is just another indicator that we are moving so close to the time of the tribulation, and they understand. Let me say it this way, because I actually heard Mondo talking about this on a previous video that I watched, and I wish I could remember which one it was, but he was addressing this. They don't read the Bible like we do, so they don't know these events in the way that you and I know these from Bible prophecy, from that lens, right? They just know that their books tell them this is supposed to bring peace, it's going to unite the nations, but we're sitting here going, oh my goodness, this is a pseudo piece. This is not, it's only going to do that for a time. And this guy that you're going to see and that you're going to just be so enamored with, that you think is your Messiah, he's actually the guy that's come to destroy you. Because let's not forget, the tribulation, it serves a few purposes, right? But the main purpose that it serves is for God to bring Israel to its knees because they rejected their Messiah, Jesus, the first time that he was here. And they should have known. They had all of the scripture to say that he would come riding in on a donkey. They would have known the exact date and time that he was going to be riding in on a donkey. They were looking for an earthly ruler to basically overthrow the Roman Empire and bring them peace because of the persecution they were under. That's what they were looking for. So they missed Jesus because he was here obviously for a bigger purpose. And that is why we as Gentiles have been taking the gospel to the world ever since they rejected him, because that's what happened. That's how the plan went. They said no. God said, well, then I'm going to make sure the Gentiles can do it. But that time is coming to an end. And then God's focus is going to go right back to where he left off with Israel from that 69th week into the 70th week, which is that final 7 years, the 70th week of Daniel. That's what that time is going to be about. And then yesterday, I saw a Facebook post from the Temple Institute, and I will link that post below for you as well, but I'm just going to read it to you really quickly. It said the 9th of Av, which is also known as Tisha B'Av, a time to mourn, and then it says ... a time to build. Again, all focused on the Temple Mount. The Holy Temple, its destruction and subsequent attempts to rebuild it, 70, they have common era, 70 AD. Now, why do they do that? You know why. The history of the Jewish experience since the Holy Temple was destroyed nearly 2,000 years ago at the hands of foreign invaders is known as the exile. Exiled from their land and from their spiritual center, the Holy Temple, the Jewish nation has been marking time, waiting to leap, as it were, back into history to take back its own destiny, and above all, to rebuild the Holy Temple, the house of God. The Jewish nation has seen to it that the Holy Temple was never forgotten throughout the darkest moments of our exile, and that our sons and daughters would one day renew the divine service on Mount Moriah and rebuild the Holy Temple. Learn more, and then it has the Temple Institute's website. So again, they are just focusing on every part of making sure that everyone is aware that this is their goal. Their goal is to get these heifers sacrificed and get their temple moving so that they can get back to worshiping in the temple, since they have not been able to do that for a very, very, very long time. Now, the last little blip I wanted to show you that I saved is from an influencer on Instagram. I don't know exactly if she has a YouTube channel or anything like that, but she's got a pretty good following on Instagram. She obviously is Jewish, and she was actually discussing on her story the other night. Someone shared this in another Telegram channel that I'm a part of. I'm a part of a few Telegram channels that I stay in contact with for news purposes, but she had a blip in her story, and she was talking about just how they're preparing for, the war that is coming. And obviously no one knows. I mean, when this video goes out, the information I'm giving could be old because Iran has, we're in the thick of it now. We're not in the thick of it today. So I don't know. But she posted this the other night. So this would have been, I think, Monday night. So this would have been the 9th of Av, I believe. We might have been past that based on the difference of time, but it doesn't matter. So here's what it says. A small thought on a painful night that gives me a lot of strength. We are all waiting and anticipating a threat from Iran, knowing that it could really be tonight, and at the same time wondering if maybe this could mean that Mashiach is also coming tomorrow. Who is Mashiach to them? Right? That's the guy they're waiting on. Who is Mashiach to us? He's the Antichrist. We have never been nearer to Mashiach, and it's honestly unbelievable to realize that just like the Iran attack might be tonight, so might our redemption. But actually, it is said that Tisha B'Av will turn to a day of happiness, and now more than ever, it could be true. Isn't that an amazing thought? That is a wild statement to me. And again, it goes to show you guys that the Jewish people, and this is where my heart hurts because I don't want them to miss this, right? And I have a couple things for you before I wrap up this video. But my heart hurts for them because they're waiting on a man who is coming, who is absolutely going to trample all over them. And they're thinking that's their deliverer. And he's not. He's the very man that has come to trample on them. And they missed their deliverer the first time. And so many of them won't even read Isaiah 53 because they cut it out of their Bibles, because the Isaiah 53 just describes Jesus Christ and they can't handle it. Guys, there's something that is very important now in the late hour that we are in, and why I wanted to do this video today to talk a little bit about the cows again. I know everyone is like, Lauren, you always talk about the cows. Yes, because it's fascinating. And second to that, with what we're seeing with the fact that the Temple Institute, everybody is going forward. Everything is about this third temple, and everything is coming down to the big word that many of us have been using for the last couple of years, convergence. And we are seeing convergence of everything prophetical that we would be hearing would be happening, rumors of wars and famines and plagues. And then you have, again, all eyes on Israel, all eyes always on Israel. This is what's going on in Israel, and why I'm telling you the time is near. What can we actually do in this time? Because we don't have much time left before we hear that shofar blow, and it's done. And we as Christians, the Bible-believing church, are zapped out of here in an instant. So what can we do? What can we do? Because this time is really, really critical, where there are a couple things that we can do in order to help our Jewish brothers and sisters. And while they're not brothers and sisters in the terms that they don't believe that Jesus is the Messiah, our hope is that they're going to come to that realization before we are zapped out of here, before we boom and zoom, as me and my girlfriends like to say. The first thing that I want to mention is this scripture right here. Let me just read it so I don't misquote it. But it is Zechariah 12:2. Behold, I will make Jerusalem a cup of drunkenness to all the surrounding peoples when they lay siege against Judah and Jerusalem. Guys, we're seeing that. I mean, Israel and Jerusalem and the Temple Mount, it's just all the talk of the world right now. And that is prophetic in and of itself. So we as Christians have a responsibility right now, because time is drawing short. Our redemption is drawing near, but their judgment is drawing near. So let me tell you about a couple of things that we can do as Christians and believers right now to help them. So the first thing that we can do, and I'm sure a lot of you already are, is to pray for the peace in Jerusalem. Psalm 122:6 says this: pray for the peace of Jerusalem. May they prosper who love you. We are commanded. Yes, commanded. Every Christian is commanded to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. There's a reason for that. It's because God's time plan, his prophetic timeline, all of this serves a grander purpose. And besides just praying, first of all, prayer is the most effective weapon that we have against all the powers of darkness and against the evil that is going on with Satan and his minions. Prayer is the big thing that we can do. But the second thing that we can do, and this is the one that probably makes people uncomfortable, but it's this one. We can witness to the world, which most of us are already doing, but let's take it a step further and let's witness to our Jewish friends out there. Let's witness to them. Why? Because if you don't know, 2/3 of the Jews are going to perish in the tribulation. That is a very, very big percentage of them, okay? Zechariah 13:8 says this. It talks about 2/3 of the Jews perishing, and that is a really insane number, but you know what we can do? We can shrink it down. Probably thinking, clearly, Lauren, you don't know math. No, I do. 2/3 of them are still going to perish, but we can take that number down, and let me give you a very easy math example. If we have 2,000 Jews that are unbelieving, that are in unbelief right now, right? If we have 2,000 of them right now and the rapture happens right now, that means 1,333 of them will perish, okay? That's the 2,000 number. 2/3 of that is 1,333. But if we can see 1,500 of those 2,000 get saved pre-rapture, right, before the trumpet blows, then obviously that number goes down significantly to only 333 perishing. That's a big deal. That's how we shrink that number. So it's so important right now that when we meet Jewish people, because so many of them are like, wow, these Christians, there are Christians out there who love and support us, and they want to see us lay hold of the land that is ours and stay in the land that is ours, and they don't want to see, us be destroyed as a people. Guys, we need to explain to them the reason why we are supporting them and why we want them to stay in their land, because we're commanded by God, but it's bigger than that. And if we're not taking the time to witness to them, that's where my heart is hurting, because it's almost like we're not even, it's going to be up to them on what they do with the gospel, but we have to be the ones to present it. Yes, it's in and around everybody. Everyone is going to be without excuse, but let's just make sure that our part is done. If we have Jewish people in our lives and in our circles, that we are taking the time to share the gospel with them. It matters so much in general, but it matters now more than ever because time is running short. And if we see a ton of them come to faith prior to the rapture, then that number, that 2/3 number, it drops dramatically. And I think, a lot of us have talked about that. I'm sure when the rapture happens, there's going to be so many people who just kind of rejected this whole idea prior. They're going to hit their knees in an instant when it happens because they're going to know. But man, do we want to keep as many people as possible from that place of that happening. So I hope that makes sense on what I was talking about with just the two things that we can do, praying for, the peace in Jerusalem and witnessing to everybody and their brother, but especially taking that time to witness to, those that are Jewish, because again, this tribulation piece is for them. It's for God to bring them to repentance, but a lot of them are going to perish. And I would love to see that number come down significantly. It's still going to be 2/3 of whatever that number is, but if more of them go up with us in the rapture, then far less of them are going to perish overall. Well, I want to thank you for watching this video today and being a part of this community. And again, if you found value in this video and everything else that I'm doing on my channel, please remember that my goal is to keep this channel ad-free. And the way I'm going to be able to do that is through the support of people like yourself. The model I want to create here is really just a value for value model. There's no set amount. It's really just about whatever you feel is on your heart and whatever you feel like this content is worth to you. You can find all the links below in the description box for the places that I do accept donations to. And please know that anything that you do makes a massive impact on this community and on this channel to keep it growing and moving in the right direction. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. And until next time, unless the rapture happens first, keep your eyes on that sky and keep your ear a listening for that shofar. I'll see you in the next one. Maranatha.